All right. So let's jump in. As I was saying, what we're going to do today is we are going to go through a presentation on the, how do we connect with neighbors of listings and sales and of our bosses and create new business. So let's dive into this. And I'm just going to take you guys through the points that I created here. And this is a very important lead source for all of us because, number one, it's an actual pretty easy lead source. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start with this lead source. For those of you that have been in the training for the last, month or two, this was what we started with. And, when I talk to the real estate agents and I say, hey, I'm going to teach them how to contact the neighbors of your listings and of your sales, they get excited about that because everybody knows that the opportunities are available to us. We know that there's neighbors that are interested in selling, and we know there's some future business available to us. But the challenge that some of you guys are experiencing, and most of the agents experience, is, we got to make a lot of calls, and we've got to talk to quite a few neighbors to find those people that are interested. And one of the challenges that a real estate agent faces, which is why you're such an important key element to this, is that when we're contacting the neighbors, what we find a lot of is, yes, I'm interested in selling in the future. That's what we get. We don't get the, yeah, come on over tonight and list my home because I want to sell tomorrow. So one of the reasons why you are so important to us is because you have not only the time to call through the numbers, to talk to enough of the neighbors to find the people that are interested, but then you also now have the time to follow up with those leads and to nurture them. So, such an important lead source for all of us, for you, for me, and for your boss. And every one of you, I need to make sure that you are creating results from this source. Okay, every single one of you. So let's dive into this little PowerPoint that I created that hopefully will be super helpful for you. And here we go. So, I just wrote down, when we're talking about contacting the neighbors of listings and sales, the opportunities are really limitless. So we can do when there's a new listing taken, we can call and report the just listed. We can have an open house invitation, so invite the neighbors to the open house so that your boss can meet them face to face. When the listing sells, we can call back the community and do the just sold. Some of your bosses have what's referred to as a geographic farm territory. So, I have a geographic farm territory that Chris and I will be attacking this year. We're going to call the entire geographic farm territory, which is 1,000 homes in my territory. Then my partner, Kai, has 3 geographic territories. One's like 300, one's like 400, one's like another 300. So, Chris and myself will do 3 times a year. We'll call through that whole entire community. And yes, we have listed and we have sold properties in that community before, so we'll just be calling all of those neighbors 3 or 4 times this year and 3 or 4 times for the rest of our lives. So there's geographic farm territories, right, that we can contact. And then just, like I know Pearl has, is calling for Jeff Quinton. Jeff Quinton's probably created through his marketing and through a lot of his initiatives, he's created a ton of what he calls potential seller leads. Just people said they're interested in selling at some point, interested in home values at some point, and she's just calling through all of those neighbors and just seeing if they're interested in the selling in the future. So this, kind of this script, this strategy is really limitless. And I want to make sure that all of you are super proficient with it. So let's take a look at the next point here. So the thing that we got to really look at is what is the mindset of the neighbor. So if we track back to, the key elements to mastering a new lead source, which we've done that training already, number one is the mindset. So what's the mindset of the neighbors? What does a neighbor value, right? What's valuable to them? So if I'm a real estate agent and I've listed, sold homes in this community, well, what I think we all would agree that our perception of value would be something along the lines of a market update. I want to know, what neighbors have listed their home for, what the price is. I want to know what neighbors have sold their home for, know what those prices, and I want to know how that price influences, the value of my home, which is an important real estate investment and an asset. So we know that really in the back of every, call that we make, that there is value in that initial service that we're offering, right? And that's important for you to really understand. And then, what's the most important service that we can offer those neighbors? And I think for most of you, you're starting to realize that property, the market analysis on their property is a hugely valuable service. If we really look at how many of you have offered the market analysis on their property, how many yeses we get to that, you could start to understand that that's a really valuable service. This is really important for your mindset. And we can serve the neighbor in so many ways, just by updating them on the price of the new listing, inviting them to an open house where they can come and take a look at the house, meet the agent face to face, the market analysis on their property. We field any questions that they might have about what's going on with the market and going on with values. We're trying to find a buyer for their neighbor. We're doing aggressive marketing. So I just want you guys, as power prospectors, to understand you have a lot of value that you're offering in this service. This isn't just about you cold calling. Because if it was just you cold calling, I would go and hire someone else just to read a script. I want you to feel inspired by what you're doing and why it's so important. So critical, your mindset. So what's the perception of what the neighbors think of you? Now, we all know that the neighbors, they're not expecting this call from you. It's not like this is actually a common service. But the truth is, when you guys call the just listed and you are attempting first to report the update to the neighbor and then to ask them if they know anyone who's thinking about buying and trying to find a buyer for that property, the perceived value is, wow, that's a very aggressive real estate agent who has a strong marketing plan. So the perceived value of you making these calls and actually updating and trying to find a buyer, the perceived value is actually very high. And it also demonstrates that, your boss is really trying to work hard to create the highest possible price. And when we are creating higher prices in a neighborhood, everybody's happy. But we all know the truth is some neighbors, they actually appreciate you. Some of them, they don't care, right? So, I just want you guys to know that I want you to feel empowered with what you do, but the truth is some just don't care, and that's totally okay. And then you guys get that one call where someone's like, thank you so much, right? Okay. I'll answer any questions afterwards, but thank you for writing one. So let's review what results that you're after. And this to me is critically important because I want you guys to be keenly aware of here are the results that I'm trying to get from doing these calls. So obviously, is providing the real estate update. That's a result. Hey, we just listed property at 123 Banana Street. We listed it for $250,000. Okay. Another result is finding a buyer. By the way, who do you know that would like to move into this area? Well, gosh, you know what? My friend is thinking about buying, and they love this community. That would be so awesome. Like, it should be on every one of yours goals is to find a buyer for one of your boss's listings in your just listed, just sold. I want you to have that mindset. I want to find a buyer for one of my boss's listings from my calls. Okay. Another thing is to field any questions that they might have regarding values in the neighborhood or what's going on with the market. Of course, we all know the market analysis on their property and having people say, yes, I would like to know the value of my home. And we know that some of those are going to be emails, some of those are going to be a phone appointment, some of those are going to be a physical face-to-face appointment. Okay? And all three are great. And then, of course, what we all know that we're looking for is someone who's interested in selling their home. But it's not the only result. All of those results are good. So we want someone who's interested in selling their home, and we want to understand, are they motivated and are they ready to move? Okay? So it's critical that you guys are really, intentionally going after results. And some of you guys know this quote. There's a famous book that most of you probably have read or heard about, and the quote goes, "Ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive." So when you're prospecting, what are you asking for? See, are you really clear about the results that you're trying to go after? And when we ask these questions on the script, boom, are you really intentional? Because the statistics show that 1 to 2 new listings will show up after we sell a home in a community. Like, it's going to show up. So our job is to find them and get them engaged with us. That's our job. So I don't care if you think it's a needle in a haystack, quoting my famous VA Chris. The truth is, our job is to find that needle in the haystack because we know the needle is there. And it's there every time, right? So let's talk about the skills. The skills that I say paid the bills, baby, yeah. Number one, as you, my veterans know who've been at this for quite a while and for the last couple of months, you really get how important your introduction is to this game. And, one of the comments that I got from one of the clients was, is if I know all of you, every one of our lists are a little bit different. Someone might have title record lists, someone might have mojo lists, someone might have land voice lists, someone might have Cole Realty Resource list, someone might have a RedX list, someone might have a, Vulcan 7 list. And every one of the lists, it's never the same. Like, I might have the homeowner's name, I might not have their name. I might have some weird name. I might have no name. I might just have the address. So I just want you guys to know that, as a power prospector, we have to get used to this fact that sometimes we have the name, sometimes we don't have the name. Sometimes we have the right name, sometimes we don't have the right name. And we actually have to kind of learn how to deal with, how do we actually, introduce ourselves? Do we just go straight into the script? Or do we say, is this Patrick Ferry? But if I don't know the name, and if I can't pronounce the name, then what do I do? So I want you guys to know you obviously have to get very comfortable with all the little funny little things that happen in our prospecting in the beginning. And we must master that introduction. Now, critical skill number 2 is mimicking the hello or the hi. And a lot of you, my newer prospectors, this is a critical skill. For my veterans, you guys have been getting really good at this, and it's impressive to see what you've been able to do. But to just mimic and mirror how they answer the phone. If they say, hello, then you say, hello, I'm looking for Susie, or hello, this is Patrick with, Alexandra Real Estate Team, and you just launch into your script. If they're like, hi, then you're like, hi, is this Patrick? Or, hi, this is Patrick, and I'm calling about da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Using that hello or hi, mimicking to really guide the conversation. And the second skill, of course, is really being clear about who you are, who you represent, and why you're calling. And a lot of you in the beginning, you rush through your intro. Hi, this is Patrick, and I'm calling from, Alexander's Real Estate Team, and I was just calling to see, do you have any questions about it? And we're just going so fast, there's not enough emphasis. Hi, this is Patrick, pause, and I work with Alexandra Marzek, the local real estate team. And what we're calling about is, property at 123 Banana Street, right there in so-and-so community. Do you know Banana Street and so-and-so community? Have you seen Alexandra Marzek's, have you seen her for sale sign? Notice how I'm emphasizing and bringing clarity, not rushing, plenty of pauses so that they can get that, really good sense of who you are and what you're calling about. Okay, then the local feel. So we talked a lot about this when you do just listed and just sold. If you can add any community names into the introduction, hugely valuable. So if you just did the address, that's not that great. If you add in a community name, that makes it feel more local. This is Patrick with Alexandra Marzek's Real Estate Team, and I'm just calling everybody in, Lake Forest community because we just listed a property on 123 Banana Street, right? So I'm calling everybody in Lake Forest community so that it feels local. And then, of course, is, the last skill on this page is getting them engaged. What do I mean by getting them engaged? So that's why my script is so annoying. It's introduction of who you are, your team, what you're calling about, and then we ask a question. Did you see the for sale sign? Do you know Banana Street? Right? Are you familiar with? Did you have an opportunity to see that property? It's those questions are about engaging them into this conversation. So are you really good at getting them engaged in this real estate update conversation in the beginning of this call? Such a critical skill. So, I just kind of put the quote there. We know that they're not used to this type of call. So they're very resistant, very reluctant, which means that we have to be 10 times more engaging to pull them into this conversation, because we already know they're reluctant and they're hesitant and they're, who are you and what are you calling me about? Why are you calling me about this? And so we have to be so much more skillful to pull them in. So some more skills that pay the bill. Number one is sounding more interested. So when you finally get down to some of these questions like, gosh, do you have any questions about what's going on with values in the neighborhood or what's happening with this local market? you're actually sounding interested. And then if you get to the questions of, well, gosh, how long have you lived here? Well, how long have you lived in this house? Where are you guys from? Right? And just, really being super interested on some of those little rapport building questions. Another skill is, and some of you are starting to get it, and I love it, you're starting to really listen for those subtle hints. Those little subtle hints. Well, if you guys were to ever sell this home, where would you move to next? Well, we like it here, but, we've been kind of looking around a little bit. Boom, that's just like a little subtle hint, all that hesitation. And that's totally different than someone saying, look, we're never moving, we love it here. So there's no subtle hint there. That it's pretty direct. We're never moving, we love it here, it's over. But we're like, well, we haven't really thought about moving. You see that's like a little subtle hint that they're thinking about it. Right? So one of the critical is really listening. Last skill is the closing. You guys do all the hard work to get all the way to, asking for their email, and then you do this big old upswing. Tell me your email address. Oh! Right? Versus saying, great, just what's your email address with a nice downswing of authority. Go ahead and give me your email address, and I'll just make sure that we get you off that property analysis right away. So what's the email address? I'm ready. I'll write it down now. Boom, now, downswing, not now. Well, would you maybe give me your email address so that I can maybe possibly, have them, call you? Right? Closing for the phone appointment. Closing for the face-to-face appointment. We got to be really smooth and powerful. We did all this work to get there, and then the last moment, we get a little nervous, and we get a little jittery because we're all excited, and like I'm so excited to get a result, and then we just get all shaky and lose it. Got to practice our closes. So some of you have seen this quote before, but the close is just a natural ending to a great presentation. Their time frame determines the close. So, if they're like, yeah, we don't have any interest in selling, but we're definitely interested in a market analysis on our property. Or, then there's no need to close hard right away. It's like, great, well, why don't you go ahead and give me your email. We'll send you over a market analysis. I'll have, my boss, Scott, give you a call and just check in with you once we get that market analysis over to you. Right? That's based upon the time frame. But if they're like, yeah, we're thinking about selling this year, and we definitely want a market analysis. Okay, cool. Well, we should close for a phone appointment. Great. Go ahead and give me your email address. I'll have my boss, John, send you over a market analysis. And why don't we do this? Why don't I set you up with a phone appointment to have John just start kind of talking to you about, the market analysis, what's happening with the market, and what he can do to help you in this process. Right? And if someone says, yeah, we're interested in selling, love to have a market analysis. And we're thinking about selling, within the next couple of months here. We're going to just start interviewing agents. Okay, well, good. Well, what we need to do is we need to set up an appointment for, my boss, Thatch, to come over and meet you, take a look at your house, and give you a good marketing presentation. So how strong is your closing skills with this particular lead source? Last one is the definition of a lead. Okay? So what's the definition of a lead between you and your boss? Is a property analysis via email something that you're going to hand off to them, or do you just enter that into the system or send them an email and they send it out and you continue to follow up with them? Are they selling in the beginning of this year, or are they selling at the end of the year? Did they just say they're interested in selling, or do you have a time frame associated? Are they actually looking at properties right now? Right? Those. Are you actively looking for their next property? Or are they going to stay in the area, or are they going to leave the area? Meaning, are they a referral or are they actually also a buyer lead? Do we pass this lead to the client to follow up for an immediate follow-up like this week, or do you continue to follow up with them until they're actually ready? Is the follow-up plan to follow up with them every 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? So we have to come up with a solid follow-up process. That's how we're going to really start to convert. So creating a clear system with your client is critical for all of our success. A clear system. When I talked to John about how her and Liz are operating with their follow-up system, it's clear. It's if this, then that. If this, then that. If this, then that. All of you need to have an if this, then that conversation with your boss about these leads. Critical to our success. Let's take a look at the next major point, which is, of course, the resources and the tools or the programs that we all need to master. I know in the beginning, a bunch of you, maybe your bosses didn't have a phone number system ready or, set up. So they're asking, well, where do we get the phone numbers? Some of you, your bosses were like, well, should they be on an auto dialer? Of course they should be on an auto dialer. But the responsibility is on you. I need you as the virtual assistant power prospector to learn the phone number system. I had Chris, she learned Cole Realty Resource, got really good at the mapping feature. I needed her to be a master of that. Then she's now become a master of the Mojo system. And now we're learning the land voice system, and we're going to upload a bunch of new leads into there. Then I'm going to be teaching, Chris, my, online website system. She's going to have to learn that. Then there's going to be a new CRM system in the next couple of months. She's going to have to learn that. So, you are going to need to be responsible for learning these tools and these programs and really figuring out how to, become a very valuable asset to your boss. So I know one of the VAs who unfortunately got fired, and one of the problems is she kept calling the same phone numbers over and over and over again. And that's because she never learned this system, was not communicating with her boss, and then in the end it was a month of really bad results. She was miserable, and they were upset because of the results, but it all could have just been simply fixed if she would have just learned the systems and had good communication with her boss, and they would have created more numbers and more opportunities, and she could have become a more valuable asset to them with their CRM system, with the whole process. And once you become a hugely valuable resource in this whole world of the neighbors and sales with the phone numbers and the dialers and the CRMs, you become a hugely valuable asset to me. Okay? So our results are usually determined by our ability to max out our opportunity with these tools. And I think everybody understands that. Let's look at the second last thing here, which is understanding the numbers and the ratios. So, we really have to have a clear goal, schedule, and outcome. And I say that, we really need to be tracking contacts per hours with the just listed, just sold, and the neighbors, or hours per session. And what's ideal, everybody, what's ideal is a 2-hour prospecting session with 30 contacts. I would like more contacts, but that's a reasonable request. 2 hours, 30 contacts if you're calling neighbors. If you're not at that measurement, something is not right. and we have to review your system because something's not right. If you're unable to spend 2 hours making the calls, something's wrong. If you're unable to make 30 contacts in the 2 hours, then something's wrong. We have to address that. But I want you guys also to be excited about the tracking and tracking your contacts. How many contacts do you need to make before you're getting a property analysis, getting an email, finding a lead, setting up a phone appointment, setting up a face-to-face? But the end goal is for you to be able to say, Patrick, it takes me 50 contacts, and on average, every 50 contacts, I'm getting my boss one listing appointment, and it's taking up 2 appointments for them to get a listing. So it's really taking me 100 contacts to get a listing contract signed. I want you to have some pride in you knowing your number. Right? That is powerful beyond recognition. When you can just say to me, Patrick, 40 contacts, got a listing already signed, boom, on average. This last month, the month of January, I made 300 contacts in just old neighbor calls. I got, 15 property analysis going. I got, 2 phone appointments. I got 2 face-to-face appointments, and my boss got 2 listings already from the 300 contacts. Boom. That's what it's all about. Knowing your numbers is the game. Okay, so I think I kind of just covered our last point here. How many, this is also understanding how many new listings does your boss get per year, per month, per week? So kind of starting to understand your boss's trends. Okay, so if we took Kai and Carly real estate team, we probably took 20 to 25 listings last year. That's 2 a month. So if we're taking 2 a month this next year, 2 to 3 a month, then how does Chris kind of schedule that into her prospecting schedule and start to set some expectations, create a little minimum standard around the activities that we have regarding each one of these? Okay, so if we're going to spend most of our time on this source, our schedule needs to be based upon the numbers, not just some, oh, well, I think I should spend, an hour on this or 2 hours on that. No, we want to set a schedule based upon the numbers. So critical. Okay. Last 2 points here is the schedule. How much time to load the new numbers into a dialing system, just so we know. So if you could schedule, twice a week, you say, all right, boss, you got 3 new listings. It's going to take me about an hour and a half to get all of the numbers set up, right? And I've tracked it, so I know it, and so then they don't even question it, right? How many, to max out one list, we need to schedule calling at 2 to 3 different times of the day. Call early in your shift, call the same list at the end of a shift, right? And we need to at least schedule 2 hours for you to attack this list. So each week, neighbors need to be planned in advance, right? You need to be kind of constantly in communication with your boss about new listings, sales, and open houses. And they're so busy. If you don't engage them and you don't ask, any new listings I need to go after, any new sales that I need to go after, any new open house invites that I should be going after, if you don't constantly engage them each week with that, then what's going to happen is they'll forget, and then you'll keep calling the same list, your results will go down, and you'll get frustrated, and then they'll get frustrated when they had a new listing and they had a new sale that you could have spent a couple hours on this week to create new business that would make you happy and feel good and make them happy. Okay, so constantly stay up to date, right? So we want to set a goal. We talked last month about having a goal for January for number of new listings you're going to help your boss get from the just listed and just sold. And then we'll have also a goal for like old expireds. We'll have also a goal for new expireds. We'll have a goal for, Pearl with your, your seller leads. We'll have a goal for the database. But we got to have a goal for, how many appointments each week, each month, how many new listings taken weekly or monthly. And so that you can have a, hey boss, I helped you create this much business this year. I'm the type of prospector that can create this much business for a real estate agent. That is the power when you have that ability, because you've got this lead source mastered.